I should probably drop somebody for Rintra. Maybe Gamora. Repairing is a bit of an annoyance for her. Although also maybe Mantis not being able to hit into block is a bit of a bummer there that I hadn't fully considered. Let's try Destroyer actually. Although he is really good with Mighty Charge. Hmm. Yeah, Photon didn't feel too scary yesterday. Let's drop Mantis. Where did she go? I hate how everything in your deck gets reordered whenever you click anything. Alright, let's do this. Morning all. Aji, don't even, like, I am really tempted to time you out for that. That's not the point of this channel. And even in the places where that is the point, the community has really crossed the line over into harassment on that lately. What does it matter if you know right now? What does it change? Thanks, card. It went well, Aiden. We got a new Rintra. Duped my leader. Not a lot else. But that's okay. I wasn't holding on to too much. Probably not, man. Probably not. We time for work then. Hey, Jason. Oh, do you not like Rolk dogs? Is this another not Titan worthy fight that we're starting here? Don't think you're going to enjoy my answer if so. Rolk is a fantastic champion. Thanks, Kurt. Oh, did Trappy complain about Red Hulk? Is that where this is coming from? Gotcha. Yeah, Trappy has some strong opinions. Trappy is also hyper focused on like the margins you need to compete in the top 20 of BGs. What that means is that Trappy's opinions on characters probably don't need to matter to most of you. Gonna be completely blunt there. Excuse you? I blocked that one. Yeah, that was dumb. Haha. uh, probably would have been better for me to eat the special two, or to eat the special three than the special two there. That's fine. I don't care. Waking up. Yeah, I do agree with you there, Aiden. Like, Rolk does respond well to nodes. He's kind of a blank canvas. Yeah, if you're mainly focused on PvE, Aji, then you should love Red Hulk. He's just a sledgehammer. His immunities are, or pseudo immunities, are very useful. Sometimes they're better than actual immunities. And like the main knock against him in how he's aged is that he doesn't do anything for Mystic Dispersion. Yeah, that was 100% my point. Or my fault. I should have just eaten the special three. Um, is that he doesn't do anything against Mystic Dispersion, and that's not a problem in PvE. Hey, Joey. I mean, I have plenty of theory crafting, Eddie, that was literally part of the design process for Thanos, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to share it all with you. Hey, Jesus, Devil Dog, welcome. How do I... No, I'm not even going to ask it. I know how I keep forgetting about that node. Because it doesn't announce its presence. Really wish that node had some kind of visual indicator. Hey, Jordan, how's it going? I mean, they will be at some point, Aji, but like, why would they be added at the same time as the last Gifted Guardians? I do crit rating for Jack for sure. You want to ramp faster. Nah, he has a precision, but it's only if you use the heavy Aiden. Being less beholden to the heavy is a huge thing. Copa, don't even. Like, I know I work for Kabam. Like, do not get in the habit of coming here and asking for unreleased information. I've seen 2 messages from you, and both of them have been that. Don't start, please. Hey, BF. That'd be cool, Aiden. She was not, like, explicitly built to be Battlegrounds viable, because that's not what She-Hulk is. But I would be very happy to see her have use there. The main issue with Rintra for Degen, though, is definitely going to be crit resistance. Yeah, I think crit on Guardian is definitely the right call. Well, it's either crit or special damage, since the special 2 payout benefits, but I personally like crit. I think it adds up to more. The issue with crit damage stat focus Black Hole is that, like, it's tuned low enough relative to all of the others that unless a champion has artificially low crit damage relative to the rest of their body type, it's not worth it to use the stat focus. There are characters where it is. Like, actually, as one example that I had called out to me, I dropped Deathless Thanos' crit damage rating to even out his damage, and I dropped it enough that the stat focus got better. So there are cases, but for the most part, it's generally not worth it. Min, we talked about asking me questions like a reporter. Saying a thing or saying your opinion and then asking me for any comment is like textbook reporting. So I'm not going to touch that. Hey, Mike, thanks for being a member. The opening went well. I got a new Rintra who's already shown up and apparently already scared people, and duped my leader. There was something else that happened, but I can't even remember right now. And sorry, backing up a bit, Eddie V, yes, I have played Marvel Rivals. I enjoy it. I generally have an upper limit on how much I can play shooters because they start to give me motion sickness, but it's been fun. Yeah, I also am glad to see the positivity about the challenges, and I'm glad you think they're well built. We spent a fair amount of time on that. I can definitely see that on Purgatory versus Sentinel mid. And yeah, I hear you, Aiden, on her being a rank 3 feeling good. I mean, dogs, it's important to note that MSD was nowhere near as involved in these as Mike and Finn were in the last batch, but yeah, it's still nice to see people not being awful. Morning, Saifasi, Pablo. I wouldn't hold my breath on that, Aji. Enchantress is a strong enough defender and so cracked when she ramps that I don't think we have much of a reason to help you speed up said ramp. Who's my rival's main? It's pretty early, so I'm not 100% sure I have a great answer for it, but I've very much enjoyed Loki so far, actually. I've not done any of the new Karinas yet, no. People are discussing my height. Hey, Madrox, thanks so much for the super chat. And amen. Glad we got there. Ah, okay. I understand your question now, man. I mean, that's just going to be something that we do on a case-by-case basis. Certain abilities make more sense with a lot at Sig 1 than others. I also think you may not be fully understanding the parts of Sentinel Sig that do scale. Because he doesn't literally get everything at Sig 1. Yeah, I understand that, dogs, and I know that MSD also put out a video that didn't help. But I'm glad people have calmed down. Don't love this draft. I think I probably could have done some things differently. Yeah, I expected that. When a champ gets rebalanced, does the original designer have any say on how? Not officially. It is the balance team's job. They may talk to us. We may offer thoughts whether they ask or not, but not officially. Shh. I hate that node. I know it's been different people each time, but seriously, y'all, stop asking for unannounced stuff. And Viraj, you've been warned. Winter Soldier. Yeah, he seems very good. I do like the Callan shirt. Ah, I understand why my height is being discussed. Thank you for the context, Madrox. Meta seems fine. I just really wish there was an icon to counterpunch, which I'm probably going to go bug people about afterwards. Good outing for Rintra there, slowing down Silk. Oh, I know, dogs. That's just a known problem with how auto block works, and with Unstoppable, there's not really anything we can do about it at the moment. Sure, Aiden. Not yet, JJ. That was my fault. Should have blocked more. Pretty unlucky with Thorns near the end of that for him not having any concussions, but decent speed out of Odin. No, Mr. V, I think people who've been here before, like Viraj, should just learn the rules and accept them instead of continuing to poke me. I think that's what should happen. I shouldn't have to put a pinned comment that people will not read because they're already typing their questions every single time I stream. Hey, Zephyr. Yeah, Odin's fantastic. Ooh, sorry to hear that, Richard. I missed it by a couple months myself, but it's cool. Would I spend my Mystic Awakening gem on Isophene or Spiral? Pass. Didn't want to make. Yeah, I got you, man. Yeah, the whiffing on Spyro's special one has been logged. Hey, Walrus, how's it going? What do you mean by that, Joe, man? Selling badges? I honestly don't know where you're going with that one. Yeah, you're fine there, Ross. I too wish Odin Sig was better. I have sketches for that. Yeah, the other thing I appreciate about yours, Ross, is that you did preface it with like, "Fine if this is not on you." More people did that, it would not bother me. You don't have to make alt accounts, Viraj. You can just behave. It's within your control. Also, if I end up banning you a second time, I'm banning any alts you make on site. Let's be blunt. No, I have not yet, Zephyr. Hey, Frequency. Think about the rebounds. Team having jurisdiction over champion is funny. Got me wondering. Okay, I'll wait for part 2. Um, not open to say a whole lot about the idols. There's gonna be a series of them, so in that sense they are like the Deathless, but don't assume anything further as far as acquisition method. Sorry, Gundu. A little bit different. The way I would phrase it is if you have 80% reduced critical penetration, then your critical hits do not ignore any armor or resistance. And I'm saying it very precisely that way because, um, first off, the critical penetration modification is flat. So because the default value is 80%, you only need to reduce it by 80% to zero it out. But it's also very important to note that it has nothing to do with critical damage bonuses. So you will still do more damage on a critical hit than on a non-critical hit against somebody who's reducing your critical penetration by 80%. It's just that both the crit and the non-crit will be fully reduced by the armor and resistance on the other person. Does that make sense? It would just be the exact same relative boost from critical damage as if the opponent had zero armor, because both are being reduced the same amount. Hey, Aaron. Veteran, legend, etc. badges? No, that's not something we're gonna sell. I mean, for one thing, veteran means literally nothing if people can buy it. There have already been events where you can close to buy the legends one. I think people can just learn them. I mean, we're just hired separately frequency. Um, like it's not rebalancing designer; it's just the balance team. Like balance designer and RPG designer slash character designer are two different roles in the company that are hired separately. I actually originally applied for balance. That job ended up going to one of our current balance designers, and then I was put up for champion designer and got that. We work together, but we have different focuses, right? Hmm. I didn't put Jess in, so I should probably avoid that. I did throw in Red Skull. And let's just knock out Bishop. No, it's okay, frequency. I hope that answered to a decent extent. Do I think people judge ramp up champions more harshly than non ramp up champions? Definitely. Humans are not patient. Deathless Thanos is my most recent one, Richard. That's a good question, Zephyr. I think if I didn't have him at all, I'd probably just take the 7-star Maestro. Like, are you just not interested in him at that point? Blade doesn't need a buff, Joe man. I did see that, Gundu. Give me a second to finish up on this first. Most challenging was 100% Thanos. Thanos was the most difficult assignment I've had since starting at Kabam. Yeah, Madrox, they're getting nuts. Yeah, that's fishing dogs. I can't talk about that. Yeah, Jordan. Him and She-Hulk were both on me. Okay, that could have been cleaner. Okay, so general comment on like what counts as unreleased info. If you don't know the answer and you don't think you can find it by searching the forums, it's probably unreleased. Personally going Nexus because I don't see myself ranking Maestro. That's fair enough. That also makes sense, Aiden. Or sorry, Madrox, with the prestige angle. Interesting. Was not expecting Adam here. Jerk. Okay, trying to back up because we should be fine there. Um, okay, so Gundu, you asked about an example for the critical penetration. So let's try and use very broad numbers, right? Let's say that on a non-critical hit, Champion A deals 100 damage. Base. On a critical hit, Champion A deals 250 damage, right? So we're looking at 100 versus 250. Nice and clean. I'm going to grab my calculator just in case. We don't need to be seeing me struggle with mental math. Champion B has a 50% armor rating, right? So what that means is that by default, the non-critical hit will do 50 damage because it's that 100 divided by 2 because it's running into the 50% armor rating, and so it's being reduced by 50% to 50, right? The critical hit will take that 250 damage and that will be reduced by 10 to 225 because critical hits by default ignore 80% of armor. So if you ignore 80% of that 50% armor rating, you have 10% left, and you reduce that 250 damage by 10%, which is 25, getting 225, right? So your default for that 100 and 250 becomes 50 and 225, which is also a good illustration of just how cracked critical hits are. Because that's how much they ignore off the bat, right? On the flip side, another piece of math to do. So 250 versus 100, that's times 2.5, right? The non-critical hit is 40% of the critical hit. But if we compare the other two numbers and we do 50 divided by 225, then the non-critical hit when hitting into that much armor is only 22%, is only 2/9 of the larger hit. And so you can see that extra bonus for crits, right? Again, showing how powerful they are. However, if we then assume that Champion B is reducing Champion A's critical penetration by 80% and zeroing it out, then both the critical and the non-critical hit will be reduced by the same 50%. And so then you will deal 50 damage on the non-critical hit and only 125 damage on the critical hit. Actually cutting it by the full 50%. No, I am not clipping my nails. That is my wife in the background. She immediately feels shame. Sorry. And sorry to my wife. The high frequencies cut through. Don't worry about it. Keep going. We're okay. All right, continuing to catch up on chat. Can I elaborate on why Thanos was the most difficult? So there's a number of overlapping reasons. The biggest is that Thanos was the culmination of the Deathless chase, right? And we had said he was going to be worth it. So we had basically publicly committed to him being a little bit above average. Not cracked, not Hercules on release, but better than normal. So he did have a little bit more of a power budget. And our design process is not calibrated for that. Like, no matter how many people tell you, oh, blah, blah, blah was clearly meant to be stronger, blah, blah, blah didn't have enough of a power budget, Kabam was mean to them. For the most part, we aim for roughly the same quality level on every champion. It's just that our game is incredibly deep and varied and complex, and design is an art more than a science. And there's a certain amount of variance in it. But Thanos couldn't be subject to that variance the same way. I wasn't allowed to miss, is basically the thing. And when I said that our processes aren't designed for aiming high, that's part of what I mean. The other part of what I mean is just that the feedback we normally give and get is calibrated around that usual aim. And so the feedback just becomes a little bit worse. Um, when the goals are different. And so I had to calibrate my design process around that. And I generally had to work further ahead than normal and be like closer to done sooner. It was just a very, very difficult process in that sense, which would have been fine if I had not shipped She Hulk and Black Panther just before. So I also kind of backed myself into a corner there, being completely transparent. The other thing about the design process is that I chose to resurrect Armor Shatter. I did not need to do that. Nobody forced me to do that, but I don't like when we have named types that don't get reused. I don't like when they're left on the scrap heap of history. I think that the game is richer when they come back and feel more active. And Armor Shattered is tough to work with. Um So I definitely made things harder for myself there. Yeah, it was just there were like three overlapping layers, some under my control, some not, that just made it very, very difficult. Why is Ice Fiend's crit rate so low? Because she was basically tuned around not critting, is the blunt answer. Part of that was her serpent target. Because if you tune around crits, then serpent is going to feel terrible unless you're just over tuned. Allowing Rintra into the Titan. Uh, Crash has a lot of input on the 7-star pool, yes. That stuff does go through balance as well. And with some input from my team as well. But as far as Rintra being in the Titan, I think the biggest overall thing there is kind of two pieces, right? Science in general needs to be slowed down. Rintra slows things down. Cosmic has a number of defenders that are somewhat Rintra proof, which slows him down and makes him less of a two-way. And so, oh, sorry, and there are more counters to Rintra offensively, just more released characters. Aiden already mentioned Deathless She-Hulk. Photon is a lot more common. We have Silk, etc., etc. And so the characters have evolved around Rintra in a way that makes him still good, but not as cracked as he was on release. Um, and that combined with the fact that he does something to the overall class meta that we need to happen right now, um, made him a pretty logical choice. He's a spicy one for sure, but it was time. Um, I think that was fine on Zephyr, but that's okay. Um, just backing up a bit. Maybe I missed a specific one. I'm not going to read all of them. But yeah, Titan's very good. Or sorry, Rintra is very good. But that is also something we're trying to do with time, and I've talked about that before, is that over time characters that are, quote, too good for 7-star release should become more okay, because we're building things around them. Yeah. Pablo puts it very well on the unreleased thing, too. If you're just looking for the info, you can ask chat. It's often a better bet than asking me. See, the thing about Realm of Legends frequency to call out is that Rintra is very crit reliant, right? Crits are challenge rating dependent, meaning that Rintra crits way, way, way more against the 4 stars there than he does elsewhere. Like, I ran this yesterday against a 5-star rank. What is it? Against a 5-star rank 5, my rank 2 Rintra has a 28% crit rate. Against a 7-star rank 3, my rank 2 Rintra has a 25% crit rate. Against, I think the 4 stars in Realm of Legends have like challenge rating 50, he has a 33% crit rate. So challenge rating is huge there. Right. That is a good conclusion, Gundu. Man Thing reducing your critical damage rating, same thing with Dazzler, is not the same thing as reducing critical penetration. I also intentionally am not using the word resistance on either of those because that is not how they're calculated or how we refer to them. Hey, MB. I was also tuned around not critting. Lulz. Since when is armor shattered minus 200? Yes. No, that's actually not since Medusa. That is an update that was in the patch notes. I see Madrox's thing about the fat figure. Sorry about that. Wonder if Rintra will work on offense versus Deathless Thanos. You can try. Yeah, you're correct. I'm just catching up. Feel like 6-star Magic and Quake are long overdue? I don't. That's all I'm gonna say there. Okay, enough people have asked in this direction. I will just say you do not get granted Thanos for having the other 7. We have said since the beginning, so that part is announced. You will need the other 4 7-stars to get 7-star Deathless Thanos, but it is not just a collect all 4 of them and he is delivered into your account. Have I ever been in any stream? Oh, like a live stream? Nope, not yet. They had the last one the day before I arrived in Vancouver, so go complain to Mike and Dave about it. I'm kidding. You don't have to complain about to them. But I would like to be on one eventually. Whoops, not what I meant to hit. All right, we can do one more. I think Thanos is going to feel good for average players, sure. But there's a fair amount of skill expression there. My personal take on his skill expression is that I think. Sorry, one second. This is a massive freaking account. I don't really want to deal with you. Um, I I suspect Thanos is going to be one of those teaching champions. I had people once say that that was my signature. I don't know that that's held in all designs. Oh, shut up. I don't know that's held in all designs, but I do think Thanos is one of those, in that like you are going to learn to cancel your heavies into specials. You are going to learn um, how to use counterpunch simply by him existing, right? And so I think that does mean that if you refuse to learn those things, you will probably do worse. But I think he lends himself to that pretty naturally. Mm, unsure, Mike. Had you updated yet? Weren't you in the live stream talking about Photon? Not that I remember. I've never been on the live stream. Do you think science champs are a bit unpunished? Yeah, I agree. I mean, Shibby, part of the thing there are counters to magic on defense, but most of those counters are in the skill class. That is a weird dynamic. Hey, Grass, welcome. You will need all of the characters to get 7-star Deathless Thanos Gundu, yes. However, it will be permanent content. And so if you are just missing one Deathless King group piece, then you have all the time you need to grind that out, grab it, and then go back. Gotcha, Mike. Because we put out a hotfix that should have caught a lot of that stuff. I don't know what you're reacting to, Aiden. I'm amused. Okay. All right, I think time to wind down on this stream. I need to go do work. I do really like the new vault screen. I don't know if anyone else will have this reaction, but it reminds me of She-Ra. Like, just the aesthetic. Just something about it. It's like the architecture reminds me a little bit of like Horde Prime's stuff in there, but then like the color scheme is more the good guys. It's I don't know. Can't explain. Who's She-Ra? She-Ra is a cartoon character. He-Man's sister from back in the 70s or 80s, but there's a really good Netflix show in a much more updated style from just a few years ago. Excuse me. Bush administration. That's funny. I'm guessing you mean the first Bush administration, too. Alright. I'm going to catch y'all later. Thanks, everybody, for the stream and for the discussion. Talk to you later.